well, we'll stop here, sir. And so the man just gave up. He was like, you got it, kid. Waste your time and see that this boat won't stop here. And then a few minutes later, a steamboat came around the corner of the river, and it wasn't slowing down. It got closer and closer, but it still wasn't slowing down. It was getting a little too close to stop when the stern wheels spun backwards, and that was slowing the boat down. But the guy, the fisherman, he was like, it's still not going to stop it. It's probably saving steam or something like that. And so the boat got closer and closer, and when it got to the deck, or the dock, it slowed to a complete stop. The ramp of the steamboat came out and landed on the dock, and the boy, he started walking to the steamboat, but he turned back and said, "Sir, this boat is gonna stop here," and it did because my dad is the pilot. So this boy's father showed faithfulness to his son by going out of his way to stop at the deck that he wasn't supposed to stop to pick up his son after school. But before we dive deeper into faithfulness, what is faithfulness? Well, faithfulness is the concept of unfailingly remaining loyal to someone or something and putting that loyalty into consistent practice, regardless of the extenuating circumstances. So today, I will share with you faithfulness and how it relates to our relationship with our parents, our life's work, our relationship to God, and God's faithfulness. So, who knows who the Rechabites are? Raise your hand. I got 1, 2. Good, it's good. So 2 people know who the Rechabites are. Please turn with me to Jeremiah chapter 35 so I can inform the rest of you. Okay. Okay, so in verse 1, we see that God is speaking to Jeremiah, and he's inviting these neighbors, the Rechabites, over to the temple for a get-together. There'll be drinks of wine. And so in verse 3 and 4 and 5, Jeremiah is setting the table. He's like, he's making the temple nice and preparing for the Rechabites to come. He says in verse 5, then I set the bowls full of wine and some cups before the Rechabites. And then he says to them, have a drink. Go ahead, there's more where that came from. But in verse 6, we see how the Rechabites demonstrated faithfulness. They said, we do not drink wine because our forefather Jehonadab, son of Rechab, gave us this command. Neither you nor your descendants must drink wine ever. That's 1. Also, you must never build houses. 2, sow seeds, plant vineyards. You must never do any of these things. You mustn't build houses, but you must always live in tents, and you can't move out of the land where you are indigenous. And so these people were basically strapped down, super conservative, like extra steroids conservative. So in verse 12, God is like, well, if these people have somewhat arbitrary rules, and I don't give you these kind of rules, my rules are like easy to follow. These rules shouldn't be really hard for you to comprehend and to follow with. So if I quote verse 12 and 13, it says, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel says, go and tell the people of Judah and those living in Jerusalem, will you not learn a lesson and obey my words? Because Lord, Jehonadab, son of Rechab, ordered his descendants not to drink wine to this day, and they don't not to drink wine, and to this day they still don't drink wine, because they obey their forefathers' command. But I have spoken to you again and again and again, and you have not obeyed me. I sent all my servants and my prophets to you. They said, each of you must turn from the wicked way and reform your actions. Do not follow the other gods or serve them. Then you will live in the land I have given to you and your ancestors. So sometimes us, we're like the Israelites, and we see these people who aren't Adventists or Christians, but they hold on and stay strong until what they believe in, even though they might have strict, arbitrary rules that are really hard to follow. All God is asking us to do is believe in Him and trust in Him and spread His word to those who don't know. So, as we see from the Rechabites, faithfulness to our parents is something key that we all need and that we all should follow. In today's world, we as young people are tempted to go away from the path that our parents and teachers have set for us. The story of the Rechabites is good for us to be familiar with, so that we too can enjoy the blessings of this wonderful fruit of His word, faithfulness. But being faithful and having faithfulness doesn't just apply to our parents, it applies to God first. So a perfect example of putting God's plan for our lives first is in 1 Samuel 14, the story of Jonathan and his armor bearer. So who knows what an armor bearer is? I check my hands. Don't be shy. Who knows what an armor bearer is? Alright, I count 7. It's pretty good in last time. Okay, so turn with me to 1 Samuel 14. So I can inform you also of armor bearers. So Jonathan is saying to his armor bearer in verse 1, "Come, let's go over to the Philistine outpost on the other side," but he didn't tell his father. Okay, so before I go deeper into the story, to help you guys understand what an armor bearer is, who knows what a caddy is? Like, golfing, who knows what a caddy is? Alright, we're getting better. So, here is one of the more famous caddies, even though caddies aren't that famous, but his name is Steve Williams. He was born on the 29th of December in 1963. He's from New Zealand, and he served for several top professional golfers. Recently, Adam Scott, but he's best known for serving with Tiger Woods. From 1999 to 2011, Woods was the top-ranked golfer in the world for much of Williams' tenure as a caddy. This man is known for sticking up for whatever Tiger Woods has believed in too. He's 100% committed to all the things that Tiger Woods wants to do. It is told that one time he wrestled down a fan who was taking pictures of Tiger Woods and he wasn't supposed to. And he wrestled him down and he took the camera from the guy and threw it in the river. That camera was $7,000. But that means what you gotta do. So, back to the story, now that we have more comprehension of what an armor bearer is. In verse 1, at the end, it says he didn't tell his father, which means he was doing something that Saul, his father, probably wouldn't have made an agreement to. And then at the end of verse 3, the Bible is reiterating itself by saying, no one was aware that Jonathan had left. He left without really telling anybody. Just him and his armor, 2 guys. And they were heading to the outpost of the Philistine army. An outpost, first of all, is like the guardian of the main camp. It's a small troop, maybe 20, 25 guys, or girls. But they would stand like a few hundred feet outside of the camp just to make sure that nobody would surprise attack them. So Jonathan was like, "We can take these guys. It's only 20 of them." So him and his armor bearer are on a cliff in verse 3 and 4. And in verse 5 and 6, he says, "Come on, let's go to the outpost of these uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will act in our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. And then in verse 7, Jonathan, his armor is saying, I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'm with you 100%. So quote, it says, go ahead. I am with your heart and your soul. Do all that you have in mind. So this shows that his armor bearer is going to be with him through thick and thin, through everything he could possibly go with him through. This shows how he's committed 100% to his job and was completely faithful. But a key element of faith is trust. Jonathan had trust in his armor that he wasn't going to rat him out or not pick up his weight the whole way. And his armor came through and did all that he was supposed to. So in verse 11, 12, and 13, they basically defeat the outposts of the Philistines, all like 25 guys. And they're successful, and him and Robert come out with no scratches and come out alive and well. So a key element of faithfulness is sharing the same mission of your counterpart. Jonathan said to his young armor, come, let's go, and he went with him. When we are given a task, we need to do it 100%. There is no, you know what, I'll do this, and he'll probably do the rest. No, it's 100% committed and going all the way through, being very thorough with what God has planned for you to do and for your life. It's very helpful if we share the same mission with our boss or our master. So we need to know what our mission is. And that's something we can all do, can ask God, and he will tell you in time what your mission is and what his plan is for your life. But faithfulness has two sides, our side and God's side. God is faithful. God is so faithful that we can't even fathom like his commitment to us, and he loves us. So God's faithfulness to his children is manifested to us in various ways. Jeremiah tells us in Lamentations that his mercies are new every morning. Great is that faithfulness. You can read this in Lamentations verse 3. God's faithfulness to us is unconditional. It's not conditional on our faithfulness back to him. We can do all these bad things and not trust God, not be faithful to him, but God, no matter what, is going to be faithful to us, even though we're not faithful to him. Jesus tells us that he causes the rain to shine and the rain to fall and the sun to shine on both the good and the evil. However, his promises are conditional on our acceptance of him. We see remarkable affirmation of God's faithfulness in Joshua when it's stated that God fulfilled all of his promises to Israel regarding their inheritance of the promised land. All his promises were fulfilled. It reads in Joshua 21, 43 and 45. 43 through 45. So the Lord gave Israel all the land he had sworn to give their forefathers, and they took possession of it and settled there. The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to them and their forefathers. No one other enemy could withstand them. The Lord handed all their enemies unto them, not some, not few, but all their enemies were given to their hands. The Israelites weren't really faithful unto God because it took them 40 years to get into the land that God promised them. It should have taken no more than 40 days. But God still came through with them, and even though they weren't faithful, he said, I'll still give you the land because I promised it to you. God's promises are always going to come true. So, to wrap up, are we willing to be faithful to God, our parents, our jobs, and in fulfilling the mission that God has given us to accomplish? I implore you all today to choose this important fruit of the Spirit, faithfulness, and enjoy the benefits that it brings. Thank you.